We've seen that a million times throughout history, where it's like, how many times you watch Behind the Music and they're like, we weren't even old enough to be in there. We were only just about 15, but we wrote Freebird, so they let us play, right? And like all this, guys, I mean, it happens all the time, right? Now, they did not, Donarix, they did not give an official reason for the new policy, but we know why, right? We're sick of dealing with inappropriate drunks who are too young to handle their booze. They did say in the comments, or in the Facebook post,
rather, going to show his ass now.
That, quote, we will try different methods to keep the violence down. It will not be tolerated.
He's been riding our ass the whole fucking time.
Maybe inaccurately, that most of this violence is about young men, right? And I have said forever that the younger men are, this is by and large, it does not mean you personally, but by and large, the younger a man is, the worse he is going to be at conflict resolution. You know how many guys I know that could actually fold most dudes into pretzels? And I mean, like, legitimately bad dudes. Makes his PV
look a little bigger.
Who will all tell you now, I'm too old to fight. I'm not doing it. It's too expensive. You end up doing time in jail. Like, I'm not doing it. Plus, it doesn't solve anything. It just proves to the other guy you shouldn't have been running your mouth. Whatever the thing is. I mean, dude, if you're 50 and bar fighting, you need to get your act together a little bit. And I know everybody thinks, oh, you always think you're such an expert. I was a bar star, baby. I shut down every bar in 10 towns. I drank 6 nights a week, if not 7. Sometimes it was my job to be drinking in bars 6 nights a week. I've spent more time bellied up at a bar than most people. That I know for sure. I can count on one hand how many bar fights I've been in over the age of 30. One time when I first started at MMS, somebody threw a beer bottle at me because they thought the station sucked. That happened. We had to punch our way out of that bar. That was a rough night. That was a rough night. Punch our way out of that bar. You guys play Fleetwood Mac and Metallica. And the dude was pissed about it. Couldn't let it go. But over 30, it's like, what are we doing? Now, sometimes, man, somebody just won't leave a situation alone and a punch ends up being thrown. I get it. But by and large, that's not really the way most people are handling it. The older you get, the less likely you are to be in a bar fight, unless you are 15 in your brain, but 35 in your body. There's plenty of those people running around out there. I had been one of them. They're literally everywhere. That's how that goes. I absolutely understand what they're doing here. Gonna be a tricky business model, though, keeping young drinkers out of a bar, because I would imagine, again, the older you get, the less likely you are to drink in a bar on Friday or Saturday night. Think about this. Some of you are my age. You want to go out for drinks on Friday night, but sometimes you think to yourself, no. I don't want to be with that crowd. I don't want to go there. I live really close to a couple of bars. We don't got to name them, but I live pretty close to a few of them. One of them has 2 completely different crowds in it. You go into the bar, sitting at the bar inside, one crowd. Go out back, completely different crowd. Some people will avoid that establishment because of that. I think it's a little fear-mongering that kind of goes into that a little bit, but that happens. I think a lot of bars don't do a good enough job of advertising, we're for you, not for the 21-year-old. I think a lot of places could do a little bit better with that. You know, we don't have to get sidetracked on that. Of course, I want the advertising money, right? So, of course, that's what I want. But I also want to be in a place that isn't there's a term a lot of drinkers will know, punch palace. I don't want to be in a punch palace. I don't want to look over my shoulder when I'm having a couple of drinks after work or whatever the hell the thing is. I don't want that. You're in there to have a good time. The younger you are, the less likely you are to deal with conflict resolution in a proper manner, and also the least likely you are to be able to handle your booze. Admit this. When you were 20, it was keg stands turned upside down, drink until you puke. Now, it's a $60 glass of bourbon that you drink slowly. Right? You grew up. Got a little older. You don't need the rowdy. You got the wife. You got the husband. You're not looking for the twerking. You're not looking for this. You're just looking for a place to get a drink. It's going to be a tough business model. Absolutely. But do I understand why bars have certain rules about before you walk in there? As a bar, again, star who was bellied up at them plenty of times, as a former bartender and as a former bar owner, yes, absolutely. I understand them wanting to do this for sure. Well, a lot of people are going to say is you kick everybody under 30 out, there goes your bar. Maybe, and most likely I would even agree. Is it maybe possible you seduce the over 30 crowd to start to make your place their hangout on Friday and Saturday nights? That's possible too. 8 a.m. this morning, some audio from Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker. He was giving a commencement speech at a Catholic university. Nobody in the audience had an issue with what he said, but now everybody is taking up for the people in the audience like, you should have walked out, you should have done this, he said this, it's intolerant.
Because it's hybrid.
So I got some audio for you. The entire speech is 22 minutes. We're not going to listen to it all. I have a couple of sections that people have really gotten upset about, so we'll play you those coming up at 8 a.m. this morning.
Hold the passing
what we have been talking about is a bar in Ohio.
Just fast enough so no one else can pass.
About 20 miles, I think it is, southeast of Columbus, or was it 20 minutes? Right around. It's a suburb of Columbus. And a bar there, Donnery's. It said on Friday and Saturday night, you now have to be 30 to come in here and drink.
There's states, 20
minutes
here in this country that'll give
now,
you a
the bar
ticket
posted
for
on
doing
Facebook and said there will be no exceptions to this rule.
What he's doing?
They didn't give a reason for the policy, but they did write in a Facebook comment that we will try different methods to keep the violence down. It will not be tolerated. And so they're thinking it's about age, and I bet a lot of it is. The older you get, the more responsible normally you become. Right? You probably have more skin in the game. You might have a kid at home. You might have, right? You maybe been in trouble once before over some things that you have done and now have seen error of said ways. That happens. It can happen. And so essentially, I think what they're doing here is, people are going to say it's bad business, but it's just a survival instinct. Because if you have decent, nothing drives out bad or good clientele like bad clientele. Nothing.
Oh, Tyler Gay.
I knock John Taffer a lot, but if you listen, one of the things he tells you is shut your bar down, spend a ton of money, and kick out all of your current customers. Now, for most bars, that is terrible advice, right? But some bars do kind of need it. Because the good clientele, there are bars you won't go to in this town, right? There are bars you'll go to. It's not about the fact that you don't want to be in a bar where drinks are being had or where alcohol is being poured. There are certain places you won't go, right?
That's how you do it. Stupid.
Yeah, nothing drives out good clientele like that.
Stop it.
I've said this when I owned a bar and I had one of those digital jukeboxes.
Like
you would watch people shove $20 bills in there just trying to piss off everybody else in the bar. No, gotta lock it down now. Get out.
That is his life.
I'm not playing, you know what I mean, we got you. I'm not playing Prankville in here. I'm playing make money in here. That's what I'm playing in here. And that's what you got to remember about bars. They didn't open to give you a place to drink. That's not what they did. They opened a place to make money because you need a place to drink. That's it. That bar ain't for you. It's for the owner. Make no mistake about this. No, that's not for you. They're offering you a service, yes, because you want one. But it ain't about you. It's about them. It's about them putting their kids through college. It's about them earning a living. And the problem is now the word owner automatically means rich, and that is ridiculous when you start talking about bars and restaurants and that. Can be they're rich. A lot of times they're not, right? That's a whole sentence. I believe violence is more likely the younger people are. And I'll keep this about men, although young women, there's plenty of those fight videos now popping up is what I'm trying to say there, if I can talk, all over social media these days. So maybe I shouldn't be keeping it about them. Maybe it is. I saw plenty of women fight in a bar in Oregon, trust me. And I mean fight like men. I saw women fight. I looked at my brother and said, this place is insane. This is insane. But like that, I mean, so plenty of women will knuckle up and fight. I mean, like that's a thing, right? Totally. Vince had been listening and says, anybody bar fighting in 2024 is clinically insane. I treat everybody I encounter as if they're carrying a firearm these days. People are crazy. I'm not risking it right now. I'm 35. I am way too old for that stuff. Bar fighting. It's interesting that I assume everybody's carrying. It's probably not a bad way to go through life. I remember when my dad was teaching me to drive a car. One of the things he said is, I want you to assume every other third car on the road, that person is drunk. Because they could be. And the more alert you are, the safer a driver you will be. And that's how I want you to approach that. There's a similar system there, right? Where if you assume that person has a gun and is willing to use it, so that's less likely you're going to.
People are...
I'll tell you what's interesting.
The transportation
not Vince. Sorry, Vince.
By the river, right?
Here's what I'll say.
Because every time that we were
Everything he
passing by
wrote to
from
me makes
Newfield
all the sense in the world
to
when I read it.
Like
Makes all the sense in the world. I'm like, he's right. Totally makes sense.
So there are, why there's no,
But
like,
yet,
you know,
if
it's
I'm in
nice
traffic,
from Taco to here in Newfield.
I'm unable to keep that thought process.
But there have some,
Just this morning on the way in, some guy
like
was just sitting in a black Jeep, just sitting in the fast lane, doing like 45 on the freeway. Everybody waiting to get around him. There was a couple of semis in the second lane, so nobody could get around. Like everybody going by, honking the horn, this and that. Like I wanted to kill that person, right? I wanted to do that. What I'm saying now, I didn't say anything to him. I didn't give him the finger. I didn't do any of that. But I wanted to. Is the point. And what I'm saying, Vance, is I can forget that can happen while I'm on the road if I'm angry there. Now all of a sudden walk into a bar, you got the male ego thing going on. Oh, did you just disrespect me? Did you? I'm an alpha. I got disrespected. And now you throw booze on top of that? Oh, homie. Like, that's the whole thing, dude. That male ego kicks in. Now all of a sudden some dude called you a pussy in front of the rest of your friends. Now you got to fight, right? I don't know why, but you do. That's kind of, I mean, that's the way the thing is. No, most people my age be like, no, you don't. You got to stand up, walk out, and to feel sad for the guy who thinks fighting in this bar means you're a man. Yes, but it normally takes some age to get to that. It does. Plenty of younger people are responsible. That's true, too, yes.
Is that Facebook, sweetheart?
We're talking averages here. We're talking by and large.
No.
It's true.
What is that?
Ronnie is asking me, isn't this just like putting up, like the... no backwards hats, no jerseys, no this, no that. It's in the same vein. I think a lot of people always make that a racial issue because of who's more likely to be wearing the jersey, the backwards hat, and that kind of thing. I've heard that argument working in bars that have that sign out in front of it. Secretly it's this, or secretly it's this bad word, and it's this, it's that. It's like, well, maybe that, but it's also like, dude, we just don't want things popping off in here. We just don't, right?
I don't go live on Facebook
I think it's different
anymore.
because they made it about the age. And that's why I think
because
it's
everybody sees something in there that they think they can claim a copyright on.
We gotta have these people not in here anymore.
Get
like
tired
that's
of it.
it's you can't say that because they're making it about the age.
Well, there's a tree over there.
And
I'm claiming a copyright on
better
it.
than the dress code. Now I think a bar should be able to deny it. You walk in there, dude, and they just feel the wrong vibe off of you. Get out, bro. Get out.
I haven't live streamed on there since that whole FIFA incident.
And let the side decide.
Remember when FIFA?
Right, that's kind of how I
tried
would
to
like
claim
things
the
to go.
copyright, and we couldn't do anything. We couldn't post anything on our page for like a month.
But that
also,
sign
like,
in every establishment,
like in a reel,
we
like even
reserve the right to
hashtag no
refuse service to
copyright
anybody.
music,
And then the moment you do it, everybody's all
still
upset. That sign is now like
sending
this
a
when you see
message
people's
that
social media. Opinions are my own and not a reflection of my company.
That's
Not going to save you, dumbass.
Don't
Not
use
even going to
music
come
anymore
close to saving you.
at all.
I don't even know why you're writing.
On the
Why? You
reels,
tell everybody else
because
you're dumb? Like, I don't understand
all they're
why you're
doing is
writing
claiming
it.
copyright on it anyway, and we don't get paid for it.
Save you. And we reserve the right to refuse service. It
just,
very
like,
rarely
like
is
posting
effective
it,
for
you
people.
know, like,
You will
because,
normally end up getting shut down because you wouldn't serve this, you wouldn't serve that.
Beauty of nature.
But we're talking violence here.
Yeah.
And
I
that
get it,
bar
but,
owner is out to protect everybody else in that bar
For your
who's
own
not going
page,
to
that's
bar.
fine, but for our,
You know who that is, by the way?
for our
Most.
travel page,
I don't even think it's not most
use
young
the
people.
original audio from it.
Growing up, and you were in that group, and you were hanging out with guys who were like that. It was like one or two guys, right? The rest of the group didn't really want to do it. It's like, wow, dude, Brad opened his mouth again, so now we got to punch our way out of here because, like, I guess I'm with them, so I need a ride home. And that's how that happened. You weren't that guy, most likely. It was one of your idiot friends. Remember that guy? You have to think back on that guy because the moment you got married, your wife looked in the back of the room of her wedding and said, that dude is never allowed at our house.
It's a
Welcome back to the
podcast.
Stansbury Show. We're at 9 a.m. Tom Brady says, I'm going to be a better parent moving forward. Interesting. They didn't give an official reason, but did say in a post, we will try different methods to keep the violence down. It will not be tolerated. My guess is this means hand violence. Hand violence, I think we'd be hearing more about the cops. And I said, look, young men are not great at conflict resolution. That's why, normally men fight. The younger you are in your life, that's normally.
I don't want to cook anything, but it's going to be.
The guy who's still fighting at my age is like, I mean, there are obviously reasons to throw a punch. You catch a dude filming your kid in a bathroom, you punch that dude. And I mean on sight. You punch that dude. I'm fine with it. right? You catch a dude touching your wife, punch that dude. I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? There are reasons people need to get punched in the face. Like, that's a thing. That's an absolute thing. But if you're just bar fighting over like somebody, like politics, somebody talking at the bar, or somebody bumped into you at a bar, it's like, dude, welcome to be at the bar, right? I feel like that's younger men activity, right? So we've been talking about that. And, you know, a lot of you are like, man, you'd be crazy to be fighting now because of all the guns that are out there. And, you know, you got to be worried about that. And I don't think that's necessarily a crazy thought process. You're not supposed to have them in bars, but okay. I don't know how that works. A lot of you are saying, dude, just do what I do. Buy a six-pack, go home, watch the game. I'm 38, I ain't going nowhere. It's like, yeah, I could understand that. That's what Brock would say. I could understand. What I don't want to do, though, and I don't think this is what Brock is saying, but what I don't want to do is give society away to the scumbags, right? Like, if we just avoid all places because this is what's going on, we need to take some of our things back. I don't know how we do it. I'm not sitting here pretending to know the answer to that. I'm not. I'm saying, but ideally, that would be the best case. This is along the lines of fight. Listen to. This guy claims that this 7-year-old being is daughter. He apparently has beaten up her father over it and has recorded himself in a video telling this young girl to go get therapy after watching her dad get beat up. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Let's take a listen to this audio.
So a 7-year-old girl who had to watch me and my brothers jump her daddy after school. To the 7-year-old girl who had to watch me and my brothers jump her daddy after school. Sorry, I know that was probably a traumatizing experience for me. But we kept asking you to stop bullying my daughter and you wouldn't listen.
Okay, now if you ask people to stop bullying your kid, you will reach a point where it's like, I'm done asking now. I would agree that could happen. I say it all the time on the show. Don't mess with people's kids, man. You don't know the reaction that can be coming down your way.
We sent letters home. We even had a meeting with you and your parents and you wouldn't listen.
Okay, so at least if what he is saying here is true, it sounds like they exhausted a lot of other avenues here.
So now you know your actions have consequences. And since you're too young to receive those consequences, you have to watch your daddy take those consequences. Get some therapy. You'll be all right.
He says he'll be all right. First of all, recording yourself admitting to a crime and posting it to the internet, pretty common these days, but why? I mean, why? Would not more... I want to say people wouldn't have done that when I was growing up, but if you give us YouTube and you give us all this stuff, I mean, I think we have the evidence. Yes, we would have. I think that's what we have here. It's a, yes, people would have been doing it. You wouldn't have. I wouldn't have, maybe. But plenty of dumb people are out there, and this guy among them. All right.
It's his birthday, May, right?
I understand how a dad ends up looking at another dad and saying, I'm done waiting. I've asked repeatedly, nicely. I went to the school. We sent letters home. We had a meeting with you. And this is still happening.
It's at the end of May.
You and I need to have a conversation. I get it. I totally understand. I'd like to think most people would say, we're going to have this conversation not in front of our children. That's asking a lot of a heated situation. I would agree with that. It's asking a lot of that. But that's what we should do. Beyond that, if two men need to get to the point to where we are exchanging fists, and sometimes in life you do, and sometimes in life it is not avoidable. Most times it would be. There are times where it's not. If it at that point, then you fight. You two fight. And you fight, by the way. Meaning, there's been a little conversation here. Everybody knows the rules of engagement. Up come the fists. Now we're going to fight. That's a fight. I don't want fighting, but at least that it could be like, all right, man, let's get this out of the system a little bit, man.
There's a wreck or something up ahead.
Let's do this a little bit real quick. We'll be fine at the end of this. Unless the gun comes out. You're right there. Maybe it's going to call the cops. Fair enough. No. But I get how you get to the point where it's like, nah, man, I'm kind of done. This is my kid. I'm tired of dealing with a kid crying every day after school, and it's your kid's fault. And since they are 7 years old, you're responsible for your son. I totally understand how we got here. Can totally understand it. is this part.
A 7-year-old girl who had to watch me and my brothers jump her daddy after school.
Why is it you and your brother? Is it because you're a pussy? Is that why? Just record the video next time you say you're a pussy. Because that's what you just did. Why are you jumping anybody as the adult? If you have a problem with another adult, you confront that person. You tell that person, we are fighting right now. And then you beat that person up. Jumping implies he didn't see it coming, and so we're doing this. Jumping also, we don't have to imply this. He said it. Me and my brother. Sorry, I'm out of your side then. You tell me, did you ended up fighting with a dad because that dad wouldn't correct their children's behavior? You're like, well, I don't know how many avenues you exhausted, but you could maybe get me on your side on that one. The moment you tell me you jumped a guy and you did it numbers on one person, I'm sorry, you are no longer in the right after all of that. 9 a.m. this morning, rock the bank and grab that $1,000 keyword. Maybe you want to bet the game tonight. Use our money. Not yours. Although I guess it's yours once we give it to you. Yeah, whatever you want to do with it. $1,000 keyword at 9 a.m. Teresa has the second at 10. Stick around and check her out. All right, I have some audio here from Harrison Butker. He is a NFL player, plays for the Chiefs as a Super Bowl man, and he also gave a commencement speech at Benedictine Catholic school, and he got into the morality issues of the world as he's telling young men and women, you're getting ready to set out on your life. Keep these things in mind. The entire speech was 22 minutes. What I have for you are the two pieces people have been flipping out over the last day online. Now, easy, and I mean easy, to get social media to light their hair on fire. They want their hair lit on fire. That's what they're there for, right? So very easy to make social media go crazy. I'm not sure a lot of you, when you hear this audio, are going to have an issue with it. What you're going to do is hear it and go, oh, dude, let me just tell you, when online gets a hold of that, he's going to have some problems. I don't think you'll have a real big problem with what he's saying. I do have what he had started saying to young men first. We'll get into the young women section after that.
To the gentleman here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities.
That feels like a little bit of an overstatement. I will admit that there has been a push, and a massive one, to reduce the amount of masculinity that men have or exhibit outwardly. I think that is definitely a thing. There's a lot of reasons why that's a thing. I'm not sure we've been told that they're not necessary. I think what they've been told is what things that have been traditionally perceived as masculine or manly, that some of that you shouldn't have. I think that's probably true.
As men, we set the tone of the culture.
Well, women, you can't argue with him. Don't tell him he's wrong, because you tell us how everything is so male-driven. And so what he just said is what you say. He just said it as a positive. You say it as a negative. But you're saying the same damn thing there. So I don't know how much we could push back on that statement either.
And when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in.
That's been said another way, which is weak men make for hard times, right? I'm kind of butchering that quote a little bit. There's a little W in what I just did there, but you take the point.
This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation.
I'm not so sure that's inaccurate either. Good role models, good strong men in the household. There's a reason why we had Big Brother programs. There's a reason why we have stepdads. There's a reason. There is good, strong leadership and examples in people's lives are a positive. There's no denying that.
Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates as we find here in the U.S., and a correlation could be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well.
Okay, I don't have the data. I don't have the numbers there, but what I will say is I have seen divorce go from, in this country, I'm not making a statement about this being good or bad, but I have seen divorce in this country go from getting divorced. I've seen that happen. And I have seen more than enough people, I know enough guys who split up from their better halves. Those kids are in those mothers' homes and they never go back. They never take the kid nowhere. They're not doing it. There are bad people around, right? It's not everybody, but there are those people. That's a true thing.
Be unapologetic unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men?
Again, is it a cultural thing? Maybe. There's definitely a push on social media to emasculate men, to reduce men's toxic masculinity out of them. Now, again, I think you can be masculine without being toxic about it. That's going to be it can be a fine line. An example I've given you over another piece of audio, just so everybody knows where my baseline is a man once said, there's a piece of audio I played for you, that women should just stay in the kitchen. They shouldn't work. They shouldn't do this. And I said, there's a difference between wanting your wife to stay home and raise your kids and thinking that's all she's good for. Those are different viewpoints. They get conflated as the same thing online because people want to be pissed. But those are very different things. One is okay. The other I view as toxic.
Do hard things. Never settle for what is easy.
That's good advice. That's good advice for young men and women. That's good advice for people. Don't settle for what's easy. Do challenging things. I agree with that. There's nothing wrong with what he said there.
You might have a talent that you don't necessarily enjoy, but if it glorifies God, maybe you should lean into that over something that you might think suits you better.
Why do you have to bring God up in it? It's a Catholic university. You notice absolutely nobody is booing, nobody's standing up, nobody's running for the door. You know why? Because most people in attendance agree with what he's saying. That's why.
I speak from experience as an introvert who now finds myself as an amateur public speaker and an entrepreneur, something I never thought I'd be when I received my industrial engineering degree. The road ahead is bright. Things are changing, society is shifting, and people young and old are embracing tradition.
I predicted that a few years ago, did I not? I said I don't know if people are going to rotate back towards religion, but I think that they will rotate back towards, you know what, I'm not airing every piece of my dirty laundry and I'm not twerking for money. I do think that there is going to be a push of that. It's only going to get worse, or not worse, but it's only going to grow is what I'm saying.
Not only has it been my vocation that has helped me and those closest to me, but not surprising to many of you, should be my outspoken embrace of the traditional Latin Mass. I've been very vocal in my love and devotion to the TLM and its necessity for our lives. But what I think gets misunderstood is that people who attend the TLM do so out of pride or preference. I can speak to my own experience, but for most people I have come across within these communities, this simply is not true. I do not attend the TLM because I think I am better than others, or for the smells and bells, or even for the love of Latin. I attend the TLM because I believe, just as the God of the Old Testament was pretty particular in how he wanted to be worshipped, the same holds true for us today. It is through the TLM that I encountered order and began to pursue it in my own life.
That's how he found his order. I've said I don't believe organized religion is the only way to morality, but it can be a fast way. Yes, there are a lot of hypocrites inside of organized religion. That was what my problem with it was after my father had passed away. I saw a lot of those hypocrites, and I did not like the way they treated my mother after he was no longer alive. And it turned me bitter, and it turned me mean, and it turned me into somebody who, well, railed against organized religion pretty heavily on the show for years and years.
Katana?
Absolutely. I always point this out. Nobody ever threatened to cancel me from going after the Christians, bro. You can do whatever you want to them. Nobody gives a damn. You can call them crazy. You can call them that. Literally, to the thing, nobody gives a damn. I don't have a single problem with anything he said to young men in there before we get to the Latin Mass thing. I don't know enough about the Latin Mass. Well, not how I grew up. It's not my thing. I have been to a few. I don't know enough about it to necessarily go all the way there. But to be telling men to be unapologetic in your masculinity, I don't think is necessarily bad. That does not mean drink beer, beat your wife. That's not what that means. And if that's what you hear when he's saying that, I think that's really an issue with the listener, not the person delivering the message. And I know a little bit about that, don't I? Yeah, I think I know a little bit about that. He also, according to some people, stepped in it with his mission statements to young women during this commencement speech. I have that for you, so we'll air it for you here next on Rock 106.9. You can also text the studio at 330-450-7625. You can find me on your socials, The Stansberry Show. Some other great ways to reach out to the program. We had been talking about Harrison Butker, who is an NFL player. He is a kicker for the Chiefs, a Super Bowl winner, and he was given a commencement speech at Benedictine, a Catholic university. And he was, well, leaning into some traditional value messages. The entire speech was 22 minutes. I decided to get a couple of pieces that have been floating around the internet since yesterday of people losing their minds about them. We played you the audio of him addressing young boys, young men, rather, graduating. Benedictine. If you missed that, it'll be in the podcast at WRQK.com. I say that because I kind of want to move forward to the next piece of audio from this speech where he addressed young women who were graduating in this class as well. This is where a lot of people really took an issue with what he was saying because he starts to talk about the role of mothers in this country a little bit. And people, well, a lot of people, it seems like some women are big mad online. They look exactly the way you think they're going to look, the women who are mad about it. A lot of women are like, nah, he's right. It's the women, it's exactly the woman you think is going to be mad about this. That's who's mad about it. They look exactly the way you think they look. Here's what he said.
Today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career?
Not a terrible thing to be thinking about at commencement. That's why everybody told you to go to college, but that's to prepare yourself for the real world, get a real job, make the real money. You go be a little success in America. That's exactly why we tell people to go do that. So I'm not surprised that's what he thinks that they're sitting there thinking. It's what they maybe should be thinking.
Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
Another piece of audio bleeding in over there. I had some issues this morning while I was recording that in. It sounds like somebody's inside the venue saying something. It's not. It's actually Paul Stanley from another piece of audio, like I said, bleeding in. I've had some recording issues in the studio over the last couple of days. I apologize. She said, I think you're most excited. Let's go back. Let's go back. I want to.
But I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
Where he got himself into some trouble there, in my view, is when he said most excited. I think if he just says, and this is a little bit of a misstep here, but not that bad of one, if he just says, I bet you're just as excited, I don't think anybody had an issue. It does sound like he's minimizing their attempt at, well, a degree, and not an attempt, their success at one. They're graduating. You know, and I believe matriculate, right? So that, you know, they're getting their degree. But to a lot of people, it sounds like he's minimizing their work aspirations.
I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother.
I would have maybe left out the word vocation there, as if that's the sole purpose for her. I have known plenty of working mothers. I work with more than a handful of them. I have dated a working mother. That person absolutely takes a huge amount of pride in what she does and the fact that she is kick-ass at it. If you asked her what was more important to her, being a good mother is going to top that list versus being the kick-ass executive. She is absolutely both. I bet she would tell you she values the motherhood thing more. Right? Like, so I'm not sure anything he has said here is crazy yet.
I'm on this stage today and able to be the man
Hello,
I am
Raven.
because I have a wife who leans into
Oh,
her
my bag is there. I'm
vocation.
sorry.
I'm beyond
I
blessed with the
could-
many talents
can
God
I
has given me,
have this? I'm
but it
sorry.
cannot be overstated
Thank you. Oops.
that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school
Loves his wife. Part of it.
would convert to the faith,
How are you,
become
Raven?
my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, Holy Mother.
I'm sorry, I don't see it. I don't. This is being spun online, and just because it's more fun to do it that way, as intolerance or telling women just stay home. And that's not what he said. That's not what he said. The other issue people have, and they're right about this one, is, bro, not everybody makes NFL player money, which means a lot of these people at this commencement speech are going to have to do both things. They're going to have to be a parent, and they're going to have to work a lot. It's just the reality. If you want both things. If you want both. You see a lot of young women out there, and I understand why I'm pushing back on it. You wouldn't believe, and I mean, you would
Josh, gonna see if he can't get me on the road again.
One day, every few kids in my life.
Well, we haven't been able to because my Aunt Susan had to come back, move back in. because
People say all the time. And
she couldn't afford to live in the apartment she was in anymore.
They're going to put me in the ground. And I will regret it. It's just the thing.
Did you eat yet?
If you ask me day in and day out, do you regret that?
Yeah, but that was like around.
But why I say no is because
Well, we're gonna go to Fazoli's here.
All right.
because I know I'll be regretting.
I'm gonna stop by Walmart
It is not.
on the way home so I can
Will
get
it
some
be true of a lot of people
stuff
who
for you to
are
make
saying
yourself
that
some lunch and stuff tomorrow because we
thinking
both
they
got to
want
work
no part
tomorrow
of that life,
afternoon.
but later on will want not a part of that life, they will want that
And,
to be their life? The answer there is yes. I find it very telling.
Did your mom tell you we were going to see wrestling Sunday?
We literally just saw people walk out of a commencement speech the other day because Jerry Seinfeld was the one giving it. Protesting,
Yeah, there's
yelling,
a
slinging slurs at him, everything else. You don't
yeah,
hear a single
down
person saying
at the
anything
mall
to this
they've
crowd,
got
not one.
their
You
arena
know
down
why?
there now.
Because most people in that audience agree with what he's saying.
Apparently,
And that's why people online are mad. Because you know that's true.
there's a WWE
That's why
match that's going to
everything becomes a
be
big deal
coming
on
here to
social media.
Ohio.
Because you
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam's
And that's why
going
you
to
go
the
cry.
Cleveland Brown Stadium.
Brown
He
Stadium.
did not tell women.
It was 45 minutes. There was a 45-minute queue just to get a shot at trying to buy tickets
It gets a little crazy.
for that.
Is
Are they all
Homemaker
sold
not a
out,
decent
sold out
title?
already?
I don't know.
Is Homemaker not a decent thing to
Josh
be?
said if he can
You know,
manage
my
to
dad
afford
used
it
to
and
say all the
find
time that the
any
failure of his life was this. He wasn't able
seats
to
for
give his
us,
wife an
he
option.
might be. He'll try to get us
My
there,
dad
but
would
if
always
not,
say,
it's fine.
I want my wife to do what she wants to do.
That's the same weekend as Hall of Fame weekend.
She's doing what she's
And
asked to do.
Do you know those tickets are like $105 per seat?
for what?
He wanted her to make the
for
choice
the
to work.
SummerSlam
Job she wanted to go do whatever.
that's
Fine,
coming
go
up?
do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in the dark ages.
That's $105 per
I want
seat.
you to have the option, and my job doesn't pay enough for that, and that he felt like a failure. I know for a fact he told me that. We all think kids would be better off if a
Absolutely
parent
nuts
stays
to
home,
see
right?
that price.
We don't have to get into that. But we all think that, right?
I get it though.
You
It's
think kids
a
end up better
wrestling
as latchkey
event,
kids?
plus
I
it's
just told
at
you my mom had to work
the
two jobs, so my dad could
Brown
work for
Stadium,
one.
so
David and I were latchkey kids. Let me tell you.
I can see
Funniest stuff was going on in
how
that minister's house that shipped me.
that price would come about.
We
Fazoli's.
all think this stuff, but when you give voice to it,
Fazoli's
and
over there.
everybody gets to have their opinion,
We've been there
i.e.
before.
social media, it becomes a problem.
And also,
I
there's
noticed
been a
nobody
bunch
in the audience had an
of
issue. It's because most people in attendance
theories that
Cavs in a
not
must-win
theories, but there's been a bunch of talk that that's going to be that SummerSlam is going to be one of Punk's first matches back in the WWE since
I thought the Cavs could push maybe 6 games.
not war games,
Hope
since
done 7. Donovan Mitchell not playing the other night, I think, led
the
to
2023
at least
WrestleMania
contributed
event.
to that loss.
No,
They
not
were
WrestleMania
damn
event. It was,
competitive, losing 109-102. That's not. I mean, it's not like they got boat raced.
I forget what it was, but it was like a.
Maybe
No, it was more than
it make this argument. You hear this a lot in basketball. Oh, I take them off the court, and all of a sudden the ball moves
It
better.
was they
Let's not take styles off the court, right? Like, let's
start
not-
off with 2
let's not
wrestlers
get
in there, and
into
then
it.
overtime,
So Cavs in a must-win
more and more
tonight
wrestlers
to
come in. They
extend
have
the
their